Hello, this is the 2024 LEGO Star Wars Imperial Star Destroyer. It has 1,555 pieces and I assembled it live over on Twitch. It cost me $160 US. This measures over 18 inches or 46 centimeters in length, which makes it about 6 studs shorter than the 2014 version, a difference that is less significant than it sounds. The set includes 6 regular minifigures, which we'll look at later, plus the 25th anniversary Cal Kestis figure, who's missing a couple things. The overall build of this feels much more buttoned up, much more tight around the seams, and also finely detailed than any of the other play-scale capital ships they've done in the past, and it is surprisingly durable. I will show you towards the end some free swooshing of this that's pretty ridiculous for something of this size. It has a similar design approach in terms of having a core, strong Technic inside frame and then just skin over the top of that, and then this is added on top as well, compared to others that we've gotten in the past, including the First Order one. But this just does it all better. I was not expecting that factor at all. I was fully anticipating just essentially a nice refresh and update to the 2014 version using a lot of the newer shapes and sizes of wedge plates that are now available that weren't available then, and some other small pieces for some of the details, things like different shapes of tiles that are available, just to update it, to make it smoother, to make it a little bit more accurate in some ways, to make some of the gaps smaller. But no, this really feels like it was engineered from scratch, even though the end result is just another gray wedge, because it's a Star Destroyer after all. They are just gray wedges from a certain point of view. But no, this truly felt different and feels different during the build and after the build, now that I actually have it. I was worried about the engines. I saw a lot of people complaining about the engines, the fact that, well, 4 of them aren't even lit up. What's up with that? But then I checked and I looked and I was like, oh yeah. Okay. Would have been nice to have the option though, to have the other 4 lit up. But just overall, all of the like I said, all of the gaps are just reduced. The whole bridge section is nice and tidy. This does rely on stickers. So for instance, the windows right there are comprised of one single sticker. And then there are a bunch of stickers on the inside for detail. This whole section feels too large, and that's one of the major issues with this, is not its size, but rather the proportions. All of this is just too bulky, and there's also too much height to it compared to what remains back here, and that makes it look more super deformed, and it makes it look more chibi, and it makes it look smaller, honestly. So I think those things are working against it, but overall the build and as a toy, it works out nicely. And if you don't notice those proportion issues, I think you end up with something that looks very presentable on display. This has 2 integrated stud shooters, so if you want to swish it around and actually fire, you push that in, and then a little trigger here. It doesn't have to come up all the way, but it's pretty nicely integrated in there, and you can access this while holding it. And similar to previous efforts, you've got the main cannons here on the sides, which are able to move together in unison thanks to a small little slider in the back. But now you can also adjust the elevation of the barrels individually, so it's just another little thing that you can do for the sake of display. There's also secret storage back here once again, but now it can be used either for spare munitions or a stowaway random minifigure. This model continues the tradition of having a handle for us huge figures to get our big grubby hands on and switch the thing around, or at least carry it. But now it's actually hidden away beneath these nice little panels, which are pretty slick and pretty sleek and make it look better. And then this is just a little handle, a little Technic-based thing that is really, really tied into the core strength of the entire frame inside of there. So you have, even though it's small, I think it's a little bit better for younger hands, but it still works for anybody. It is very, very strong, and you don't have to worry about this ever coming apart. And then ultimately you let go, just push this down, and now it looks better on display. To get to the inside, you just lift all of this away, and it's heavier and more dense than ever as one thing. And then you can just open it up, and this is the pattern that we've seen before on a number of these large ships. Now you can see that Technic frame here, but it's actually lighter weight, and thinner and more sleek than it's ever been, which helps to preserve usable interior space. So you've got these side main frame rails. You've got a connector across right here. This is a very important one because this is where the handle goes. That is hollow on the inside, but they make more use of this little block right here than before. You have plenty of space underneath here, underneath the bridge, so you can actually place minifigures under there, preserve some usable space, and ultimately it ties back down to the rear here and then has the cross members at the back, which is essentially the rear bulkhead onto which the engines get directly attached. There are a couple of medium-sized display panels back there, which look nice with the clear-backed stickers. Again, all the stickers are clear-backed in this, but it's essentially just to allow these to work. Nothing else really needs the transparency. So you've got another display over there. This hollow table, this 3D projection table is kind of brilliant. I think that I'm probably just a sucker for these types of things, but I love the look of it, and I like its scale. Shows a Star Destroyer there. You know, it's just a little 3D map. It feels very appropriate for the era and everything. Over here, again, like I said, they use some of the space here. So they've got storage. There's a beaker inside of there. You could do some medical related stuff here, I guess. Storage for a couple of weapons along the back. Nothing over here, but there's a little mouse droid, the smallest one stud mouse droid design. Then moving forward to the section that is supposed to represent the bridge scene. You know, we've got that center raised catwalk. You've got a couple more panels down there that are done with stickers. Got a print over there. As with the last one, only one seat. Now this one doesn't actually rotate, but you can have a figure sitting down there. And if I rotate this around further, you can see an additional panel that uses a sticker across a 2x6 tile. Then there was one over here as well. Those are lacking in opacity a little bit. The old ones just had more brightness to them and had more punch from the last Star Destroyer, but these have more detail. The other side has the same thing going on, so space for one person to be seated even when the top is on, but you can also put another figure over here who's standing. I think you can actually kind of make one sit there as well, two side by side, but mostly you're gonna have one seated and one standing at most, and then you can have Vader up here and a bunch of other figures just in a line. On the other side, this might be a little break space. So we've got a data pad there, the all important coffee mug. Now we've got one rotating seat right there. And then a bunch of open space. So you can just have your figures walking around, or you can use it for troop transport and storage. Over here, another console. And then these are both containers that have space inside of them, so you can put things inside them. This one has a set of macro binoculars or electro binoculars, there we go, in white, and this one just has a couple of thermal detonators, the printed ones. And then looking along the outside edge, a different sticker is used here with a different design on it. And then here's the last one. With a bunch of figures in place, this gives you a better idea of the size and scale of the usable space. Even with these here, you can see there's still plenty of room to put more figures in. I can have more up here, another seated one there, another standing one there. You can have multiple around here, not even using the other side over here yet. So a very efficient and open use of this space. Here, of course, is Darth Vader. The middle one is Commander Prodigy, and on the right is an unnamed Imperial crew member who has really nice prints going straight down from the neck. Well, actually from the head, from the hat, all the way down to the middle of the legs. Each of these figures looks good for what it is. In my opinion, these are like modern, you know, well designed, well produced figures, and I'm happy with them. Of course, we got the printing on the sides of both arms for Vader there as well. No alternate faces to be seen for these because of the designs of the caps. And it's a white-headed Vader, and there's what his face looks like. Here are the Navy Trooper, the Gunner, and the Family Guy, or Blue Harvest style Stormtrooper with the huge noggin. These are all well-produced figures for what they are, for their design. I actually very much like the helmet here, and especially this one. I think the Gunner is done just so well with the fine little paint or ink applications on there. Even the Imperial insignia there is printed pretty well, white on black, and yet it has a decent amount of opacity. Got some nice fine lines in here, some variation of line width in the graphic design to represent some of the wrinkles and everything. And they took advantage of this opportunity with unnamed characters to just give us some different skin tones for them. No alternate face for that one is a little bit unexpected, but these are unusual skin tone colors, you know, some of the more rare ones, including a couple of the newer ones. And here's the 25th anniversary of Lego Star Wars. Cal Kestis figure from Jedi Fallen Order and Survivor. What is here looks pretty good. I think that the opacity for the vest could have been just a little bit better with its print, especially for the tan around the edges to give it a little bit more pop. But otherwise, you got some pretty fine printing going down into the legs. I think the face works pretty well. Maybe I have the hair slightly misaligned there, but the face works pretty well. I think the hair works pretty well. Overall, yeah, production work is pretty decent, but this is missing a couple things. Cal Kestis is known for his ponchos, and they didn't include a poncho. They definitely could have done that for this special figure. More importantly, though, there's no BD1, his sidekick, who's always with him, who's really important for the gameplay. They already have the mold. They could just include it, and they didn't. And that's awkward. It's odd. It's a strange choice. I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense. And it reduces the potential value of this figure. If he was more complete based on the way that he should be, it's a recent figure, recent character that a lot of people really appreciate and are attached to. It's not based on a 40-year-old film or anything. This is relatively new stuff and good stuff too. Really, really good, solid game. So yeah, they just missed out on some stuff here, and it leaves an opportunity for the aftermarket to take up the slack with ponchos. But for BD1, you're probably just going to end up getting something off of Bricklink, which is going to cost you more just to make this a complete figure. It really needs at least one of those other things. It does come with a stand though. All of the 25th anniversary ones do, and that is a print. Here are the leftover and extra pieces. They do give you 2 spare bolts for the spring-loaded shooter, so you get 4 in total in the set. And this is what the sticker sheet looked like. And again, all of these are clear backed. All right, looking at value, once again, I paid $160 US for this. It's 170 euros is the base price for some reason. 150 pounds UK, $210 Canadian for 1,555 pieces with the 6+1, 7 minifigures there. And adjusted for inflation, this is $10 less than the 2014 one was. I know some people don't believe in inflation, like to make every kind of copium excuse. Inflation shouldn't exist for Lego only, but ultimately Lego hasn't increased the price of this thing for the amount of stuff that you get, because this also has way more pieces than the 2014 version, and it's a better build, honestly. And mostly that's because they just have better pieces, and they've learned through the years how to do these things better. I mean, the fact that I can take this thing right now and just do this with it, I can hold it from one side like this. I can hold it from the front like this. I can hold it from the back like this. You shouldn't be able to do this. I can hold it from the sides. I can hold it from a side. You shouldn't be able to do this with a Lego set like this. This thing is hollow and it has so little structure. It's not like it's solid by any means. As I showed you, the Technic frame for this thing is actually thinner, more sleek than before. And I can turn it way high angle of attack like this, and the top part's not falling out. Nothing, no panels are opening up. There's so much that's good about this. It's kind of ridiculous. It even looks decent on the underside. If you want to have it kind of up high, at a high mount up on a high shelf or something, you do see larger gaps now. But at least you don't see a whole bunch of different colors. You don't have a whole bunch of different layers to it, a whole bunch of different levels. So it even ends up being kind of clean. Some of the angles in here are honestly pretty dang nice, pretty dang advanced and special, more so than I would have thought. The worst thing about this is definitely just that the proportions are awkward on it. And if you're a real fan of the source material, you see that, and then you have trouble unseeing it. Maybe from this kind of angle, you don't see it as much. But once you start to turn around and you see all that back there compared to this right here, and you got the larger bridge, it's kind of leaning forward. Those things really make it look smaller than it is, unfortunately, which is, it's just kind of bad luck. They did need to have clearance underneath here for the hump, for the handle and everything. The fact that the handle is actually hidden away like this is pretty deluxe too. You almost don't need the handle anymore like this, but if you do want to hang it from a ceiling, this is still very convenient there. Not that many people do that, especially these days, but the feature is there if you want to use it. But I think the overwhelming majority of folks are just going to grab it because you finally can. Something I just can't get over that. The figure selection is actually pretty good. Too bad about that Cal Kestis though. He really needs BD1 I want him to have a poncho because poncho, it's just so endemic to the culture of those games. The whole poncho thing would have been nice to at least have an option to light up the other 4 little thrusters back here, but having them off obviously isn't the worst thing in the world, isn't the most non-canonical thing in the world. So overall, I'm very happy with this. It's a good toy. The proportions, if you're a stickler for proportions, are definitely wrong. But otherwise, it's a good thing, and I think it even looks good on display. I really disliked those proportions when I first saw the pictures, and I'm starting to get over it because it's just so well finished. The fit and finish on this is high class. So I might keep this one around for a while on display just because it makes me happy to see the gray wedge. The gray wedge that I've always liked and done nicely here. So those are my thoughts. Thank you very much for watching. Hope that this brought some value to you. Whether or not you agree with my personal opinions, I hope that I have helped you to come to your own conclusions about this. Bye for now.